Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is me, Lim, and welcome to Authentic Expressions. Today's topic is mistakes are okay. Tap into courage to face fears and failure. All right. I am going to read the sponsorship announcement. This YouTube is sponsored by Laurel Ridge Treatment Center. Laurel Ridge is a behavioral health program that offers compassionate care at every stage of life. It provides personalized treatment for all populations. Their interest is to help you into your journey to wellness. There are services for children, adolescents, adults, military dependents, active duty service members, veterans, and first responders. They offer inpatient services, outpatient services, substance abuse treatment, residential treatment. Call 210 491 3591 for no cost assessment. Laurel Ridge is open 24 hours and 7 days a week. Their mission is to save lives, heal families, and create hope. All right. Welcome to today's session on Mistakes Are Okay. Tap into courage to face fears and failure. Hi, I see familiar names and faces. So we have Santos, welcome. Rachel, welcome. All right, we have, okay, day one. Day one is tell me your name. And Christina, good. So tell me what your questions are related to mistakes are okay. How can you tap into courage to face fears and failures? All right, Brittany, good. Good to have you back, Brittany. Glad you're here. All right, Santos already has a question. Good to see you, Rachel. Santos already has a question. He says, how can a person use their past fears and failures as stepping stone to improve my quality of life? What a great question. And I think this is a common struggle that many people encounter. So how can you use past failures to, use it as stepping stones to improve quality of life? All right. So instead of seeing your past mistakes as failures, I would couch it in the language of, it was a growth opportunity. With the light bulb, it took 10,000 failures or attempts before the light bulb was successful. There are lots of successful individuals who are high school dropouts, but their persistency and their attempts, multiple, not just one or two, but 10,000 attempts, often brought about success. So if you think of failures as growth opportunities, and often look at it as what can you do to enhance, to improve, that will help you learn from it. So many times in our society, when you make mistake, it's highlighted and then it shrinks us. But think of mistakes as growth opportunities, opportunities for you to strengthen, to enhance and fine tune the areas in which you want to grow. All right, welcome, Elias Martinez. Good, glad you're here. Marna Litz, Brittany Jones, very nice. So Brittany has a question. What does fear of failure often why does fear of failure often stop us before we even begin? And how can we interrupt this pattern? What a great question. Yes, fear, if you have it looming at the back of your head and is always there, ever present, then life would be life is about your failures. But if you embrace courage and think of this is an attempt to grow, not an attempt to fail and be shamed and feel small about it, feel like you are not enough. So if you can be very conscious about removing fear, putting in courage, putting in bravery, putting in attempts, then it will help you look at situations differently. So when you are constantly hovering over the concept of failure, whose script is that? Whose script are you using to live life with? So it's important for you to look at whether you're adopting somebody else's script, whether you are fine tuning your own, or you have just been a good follower, always adopting other people's script, other people's message, other people's false logic, faulty logic. And if you find yourself being a follower, and as an adult, it's time for you to look into what scripts you want to perpetuate and what scripts you want to include that is about enhancing you, not about depleting you, discouraging you, defeating you. So think about how you want to change the script in which you live life with. All right. Thank you, Christina. So, how can you make peace with your past mistakes? Not to dwell on the past, but to live in the present and be a better person for the future. That's a great reminder. How can we be a better person for the future? Make peace with the past, not dwell in the past. Yes, historically, people focus on what you have failed to do, what you have done wrong. You may have grown up in a family where mistakes are highlighted, mistakes are kind of like reminded frequently. So it is important for you that you don't just be a follower and do the same things that was done upon you unto you. So in order to let go, you also want to acknowledge your mistakes, but also come from a standpoint of, I've acknowledged my mistakes. I want to learn from it. I want to forgive myself. So forgiving yourself will show up when you allow yourself to talk about it, when you allow yourself to express it and not just sweep it under the carpet. It's important for you to be able to talk about it, to journal about it, to be able to share it with somebody, and then you let go of the embarrassment, you let go of the shame, you let go of the guilt. And when you free those emotions up, it then gives room for you to forgive yourself, move forward. Many times we are not able to forgive ourselves is because we have not talked about it. We have swept it in the depths of a deep carpet, and then we feel shame about it. So whenever you want to let go of something or forgive yourself, it's important to talk about it and let it go. Once you talk about it, the problem shrinks. Whatever you don't talk about, it grows. So learn to give yourself permission to talk about things that are embarrassing, that are kind of like defeating, that has kept you small. So let it out, and then forgiveness will show up. All right, Brittany has another question. How do I rebuild trust with myself after I've made mistakes that I feel that I'm really ashamed of? That's a great question. And thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable. Yes, in rebuilding trust, in forgiving yourself, you may also want to look at how your parents forgive you, or do they hang on to things and hold that against you. And when they do that, or if they do that, you may have a harder time. So you want to reflect on whether you're using your parents' template, or the individuals who raised you, or somebody else's template to move forward. So again, whenever you share about things that you're embarrassed about, even when you talk about it to somebody you trust, that the problem that you've been holding on to probably shrinks into half. And then you will see that it's not as big of a mistake as you have given it credit for. So many times when we don't talk about it, it blows up, it builds up, and then it becomes a bigger problem. And then we use shame to as a template to look at future failures. So learn to use different perspectives, different templates to see how you have, just to look at your mistakes, not just through one lenses, but through multiple lenses, different colored lenses. So learn to be creative in how you view things. Because if you're rigid, life tends to be more challenging. It's like if you eat one type of food, life tends to be boring. If you eat different kinds of food, different colored foods, different flavored foods, then life tends to be more interesting. Same thing with this concept. Don't think about, you're such a failure, but think about, I want to build trust and I want to be able to let go of things that I feel embarrassed, ashamed about. So, okay, welcome, Garland. Janet, good to have you. Good. I'm glad you found the answer to your question, Brittany. All right, Carolyn, welcome. Good to see you all again. Awesome. Garland says, I feel that being intentional about rewriting my script helps me move away from old habits. Yes, great. Thanks for sharing that tidbit. Yes, being able intentionally rewrite your scripts. So you have to think about what you want to move towards, not just what you want to move away from. So in any kind of change, think about what you want to move towards. How can you be intentional about your growth? How can you be mindful? How can you be more attuned? So use words that are connecting and enhancing. You're intentional, you're attuned, you're mindful. So in any growth, it just doesn't occur automatically. It takes repeated practices. Just like the script that you have that are not healthy, you have repeated it to yourself day in, day out for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And now when you're trying to integrate and infuse a new script, it takes time. So be intentional. And what are some scripts you want to use to face fears and failures? All right, great questions, folks. Okay, what other questions do you have? I would love to answer them. So please type it out. I would love to see what questions you have. While you are typing out your questions, I have a quote I want to read to you. Self-talk is the most powerful form of communication because it either empowers you or defeats you. Again, self-talk is the most powerful form of communication because it either empowers you or defeats you. Author is unknown. So the other unknown script quote is, what you tell yourself every day will either lift you up or tear you down. So you get the option of choosing how you want to lift yourself up or how you allow things, people, old scripts to tear you down. Okay, what other questions do you have? I would love to hear your questions. All right, Brittany has, what is one thing you wish more people understood about fear, mistakes, and personal growth? What a great question, Brittany. Okay, what is one thing you wish more people would understand about fear, mistakes, and personal growth? Fear is very abstract, but people give it a lot of power. So fear can come in the form of your mother's message, your father's message, your teacher's message. It's like, oh, I wouldn't do that. If I were you, I would do it differently. Oh, you shouldn't try that. That's embarrassing. So fear is not just one big simple message. Fear is the little messages that have built up. And then when you connect fear with a letdown, then you have made it into something bigger than what it's supposed to. So many times people hang out with fear, hang around fear, and use fear as their best friend. So my question is it necessary? Do you necessarily need to have a best friend that is defeating? Or can you choose best friends such as other emotions, other values, other principles that is going to help you, enhance you? So many times we hang on to one negative emotion, one negative concept, and we grow that in our head. And we don't even know what's the purpose of that, but we keep hanging on to it. So you want to step back and think about how you can use other emotions, how you can use a wide range of emotions to help you grow. Don't just think about the ones that you have been taught that are unhealthy. So think about what you can use. Identify principles that will help you, not just principles that are unhealthy. Many times we go, this is what my parents taught me. This is how I see life through these lenses. Even though the lenses is all gray, it's all blurry. You need to learn to step back and see life through the lens in which you want to see, rather than just do what has been perpetuated, what has been taught in your family, and what has been promoted. Learn to use different scripts, different emotions, different principles, different values in which you want to shape your life. So don't let other people define how you live your life. And fear is such an abstract thing, but we hang on to it as though it is our very best friend, our only friend. And that's sad if you let fear define you, who you are, and how you live, and grow yourself. So it's important to use other principles like integrity, like respect, self-honor, self-valuing, self-nurturing, self-compassion. There are whole hosts of other guiding principles. So tap into that and don't be just so one-sided, lopsided, in which you define yourself, your personality, and your growth. All right, Carolyn says, how can you help someone from repeating the mistake they saw as a child that their parents modeled? What a great question. Yes, how can you help someone from repeating the same mistake? And I think for that to happen, it's so important that you talk about the history that you don't like, the history that has kind of shaped you into who you are. For you to get rid of something, you need to talk about it and open it up. The more you squish something and hide it or sweep it under the carpet, the more it grows. So get the person to talk about what mistakes they were embarrassed about, what mistakes they felt guilty about. Talk about the emotions that's wrapped up in that behavior, and they don't like it. So talk about how it has affected them, how it has impacted them. When you help a person unravel, you're helping them free themselves. It's like these are the chains that have bind them. So when you give them the gift of listening and give them the gift of understanding, then they too will be able to unravel it in constructive ways and then look at healthier ways in which to define their growth. So growth has to be intentional. It's not just a meandering process and hope that you will get there. If you want to get there, you have to define how you want to. What are some values and principles you want to embrace? And what are some practices that help you get there? It just doesn't happen magically, automatically. So be very intentional and be very conscientious about how you move forward in life. Don't just think that, you know, if I think about it every other week, if I think about it once a month, it will all show up. So be intentional. All right, Carolyn says, thank you. I planted some seeds today and for them to recognize what they are doing. Good. Sounds like you're doing a lot of good work to plant seeds in these people's minds. So great. All right. What other questions? Love to hear from each of you. Janet, if you have a question, feel free to type it out. Dora, let's hear your question. So while you're typing out your question, I'll read another quote. So Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, says, when you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. Again, I'm going to read. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. From Lao Tzu. Okay, another one here's another quote, a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Nothing can bring you peace but yourself. So these are powerful reminders, and I hope you can use that as you move towards growth. All right, Brittany says, failure is a form of redirection. What an awesome reminder. Thank you, Brittany. I like that. All right, who else has questions? I like that you share some of your growth, some of your reminders. So what is an intentional thing you want to practice each and every day? It doesn't have to be all day long. So intentionally, what are some things you want to bring into your headspace? Would anyone like to share about that? What is intentional practice? What is an intentional reminder? So intentional reminder is I want to show myself compassion when things don't go a certain way as I expect it to. So let's hear from you. All right, Brittany says, I am enough with no additions. Okay, it's one of my intentional reminder. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. I like that. I'm enough with no additions. Okay, I like that reminder. Anyone else? What are some reminders that will help you move through your journey of growth, that will help you move past failures, but to help you move towards acceptance? All right, Dora says, I want to practice positive self talk when I make a mistake. Yeah, that's awesome too. So to see mistake as opportunities, as learning curves, as growth spurts, and as a place in which you can move forward. All right, Carolyn has a thought. Mistakes that bring shame from the past can be strong. What can be a direction to go to reduce shame? All right, that's a great question. Again, mistakes can bring shame from the past. It can be strong and overpowering, true. What can be a direction to reduce shame? So, shame is a very powerful self talk in which people use to oppress themselves. So, it's important to think about whose shame are you embracing? Is it shame that has been generational, that you embrace without even challenging it, without even questioning it? And does every behavior, every mistake, every infraction has to be wrapped around, by the cloak of shame? So you need to step back and think about, besides shame, what is a different self-talk that I can use to view mistakes? So it doesn't have to be shame. It can be you can shift it from, okay, I was discouraged when this didn't happen. I was discouraged that I was not able to get the promotion. I was discouraged that the conversation did not go as well. So learn to not oppress yourself, but learn to cultivate more compassion. So if you let go of shame, guilt, and fear, what will you show? So it's important to challenge your thoughts and just not automatically go to your default shame. Because the more you hang out and the more you beat yourself up with shame and guilt and fear, then the more we wallow and marinate in it. So it's important to introduce new and different emotions. So don't just hang around it and be stuck in the deep dark well that you there's a slippery, slope. So think about, you have the capacity to introduce other emotions, other self-talk. What would you like to introduce? Don't downplay the mistakes, but go mistakes, and mistakes are growth points, mistakes are learning opportunities, mistakes is an opportunity to show self-compassion. So learn to connect two concepts rather than just hang out with shame. All right, Serena, my littles get a daily reminder. I am fun and I am smart. I have a beautiful mind and I have a beautiful heart. All right, that's a very sweet reminder. And then also think about how they can nurture and what they can nurture. All right, Brittany has a thought. I recommend reading Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. She breaks down shame in vulnerability in the most beautiful ways. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that reading. Yes, that is great. Okay. So, other thoughts related to what you want to introduce into your life to help you strengthen a different muscle. The muscle of not, you don't want to strengthen your muscle of fear, your muscle of dejection, shame. What new muscles that have been tucked away that you want to strengthen? So, whenever you think about change, don't just focus on the one thing that has brought you down. Think of other things you want to introduce into your life. Just like, if you're giving up certain things, what do you want to bring into your life? So that it can add flavor, it can add spice. So, change is about adding different things, different ingredients, different emotional ingredients, different principles, healthier principles. So don't think of it as terminal that you only have this and it's, you're bound by this negative emotion. Think about other principles you want to introduce that will help you strengthen new muscles, different muscles, muscles that have been absent forever. It's like whenever you exercise, you didn't even know that certain muscles existed in your arm or your legs or your core. So make it a point to introduce different muscles. All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts, for your questions. I love those questions, powerful questions, thought provoking questions. So next week, our topic is rising above shame. So here's that word again: rising above shame, nurturing resilient self-worth. So I look forward to seeing you. Come ready with questions. And before we close, I want to thank Laurel Ridge for sponsoring this program. So, Laurel Ridge is a behavioral health program that offers compassionate care for every stage of life. It provides personalized treatment for all populations. So, there are a variety of services for children, adolescents, adults, military dependents, active duty service members, veterans, and first responders. Do call 210-491-3591 for no cost assessment. So thank you so much for your questions. I love those questions, very thought provoking. And again, next week, rising above shame, nurturing resilience and worth. Awesome. Thank you for attending and have a wonderful evening, great weekend.